So I was in my private chat with my secret friends who I've never met, and somebody linked a video about a guy whose steering wheel on his Tesla fell off while he was in the middle of the freeway. And that's pretty shitty, right? So imagine trying to pull over with no steering wheel. I don't know how he did it. Didn't watch the video, but yeah. But I thought to myself, like, I'm sure there's other examples of steering wheels falling off for other brands, and sure enough, there's plenty. So maybe it's a Tesla thing, but it's definitely not only Tesla. And, I was like, I got a lot of energy. Why don't I make a video for that group and for the people on Social Galactic? Because, it's pretty easy to jump on the anti-Tesla hype. And I'm going to tell you, this car you're seeing on the screen is not my car, but it is my car. That is the Model 3. That's the one I have. That's the color I have. And I have window tint just like that. So this is a good example of what I'm driving right now. But let's get into the pros and cons, because there are some things I definitely don't like about the Tesla, straight up. However, I made a nice juicy list here. I'm just going to read off of this, kind of freestyle off of this, so you don't need to watch the video. As usual, just sit back and listen while you're doing some work or something. So I own the 22 Tesla Model 3 dual motor long range. So it's not the rear wheel model. The rear wheel drive model is much cheaper. It's probably about 10K, 15K cheaper. At least it was last year. And that's not the model you want if you're living in the snow, because you probably will be required to put chains on the back tires if you're going up like a mountain. The way that the long range and the performance model are, they're dual motor all-wheel drive cars that ship with mud and snow certified tires, which means no chains. That being said, you can see the ground clearance isn't that great. It's about the same as a Subaru Impreza. So you're not going to be trying to tackle a foot of snow with this car. You better not, because you're going to get stuck like any car that has this kind of clearance. Anyway, sorry, I'm out of breath. Let me get started here. So these pros are in no particular order. I'll probably end up freestyling a little bit and rambling, but the first thing that I put here is that the all-wheel drive is very good. Just so you know, we're comparing it to a Subaru Impreza. Subarus have very good all-wheel drives as well. Probably the cheapest car you could get with an all-wheel drive. Like if you live in a snowy area like we do, you don't have a ton of money, highly recommend looking at Subaru, because I think every single car they have is standard all-wheel drive. You really don't want to slip on ice and snow. That's super dangerous. And in this Tesla, you certainly won't. You will slip, but you will feel the torque vector all-wheel drive kicking in so fast and getting you back. It's basically fun. I literally will slip on purpose around turns where there are no parked cars with my kid in the car, because it's fun. Like, the back will slip out and then it will kick right back in. And I've also taken long drives on icy, windy roads and slipped a little bit and come right back. Like, the car just differentiates to the other wheels. I'm not probably saying that right, but I'm not really a all-wheel drive car expert. But the all-wheel drive on this car is great. You can absolutely do tons of Google searches on that. Sorry, I'm super hyphy. One of the most important things, the next point, electric vehicles, not just the Tesla, have something called instant torque. From a gas-powered car, you gotta really crank your engine to get the torque. Maybe I'm not saying that right, but that's pretty much what I mean. In EVs, the torque is absolutely instant. And what that really comes down to me is that for the price of $53,000, which is $8,000 less than I spent, and this is for the Performance Model 3, which this might be. They look the same, but the Performance model has, lighter features, a stronger engine or motor, whatever. You get 0 to 60 in 3.1 seconds, or in the case of mine, I think it's like 3.3 seconds, maybe a little lower. That kind of speed is unheard of for a gas-powered car at that price point. If you want, you have to do Google searches. Go to Google and type in 0 to 60 this model car, 0 to 60 that model car, and see what the numbers are. I've compared them to some of my friends' cars, like BMWs, WRXs, the STI version. My friend has an Audi S5, and even his S5 does not get 0 to 60 in anything under 4 seconds. Maybe I think he's like 4.5, and his car is maybe $65,000, $70,000. So I'm just this is one of the biggest advantages. If you care about speed and only speed, and you don't care that there's no noise from the engine, because there is no engine, it's just electric motors, then this is like the best speed you're going to get going from 0 to 60 if you want to be like a red light racer, drag racing your friends or other people, and you'll find them out there. They'll see you and they'll try to race you. Speaking of which, I guess this was a good time to talk about a con that I didn't put on the list. But this is not your car to race that Audi S5 on windy turns after 60 miles per hour. You still go very fast. You can put down your foot on the accelerator and go from 60 to 115 and not even realize how fast you're going. But when the turns get crazy, this is not the car. It doesn't have that kind of a racing suspension. I've driven my buddy's S5 around turns like that were even faster than I would want to go as a person. Like I wasn't even comfortable, but I wouldn't do it in the Model 3. Just FYI, it is not going to beat a performance Audi or a performance BMW around turns beyond 60 miles per hour. It is, however, the drag racer, the red light racer. You go there, you got a red light and open freeway in front of you like I do where I live, and you're going to win almost every time. So that's actually a con, but that's like one of the big things I want to talk about and why I actually bought this car. Now, just so you know, I don't really want to like advertise too much, but seriously, Tesla had its little problem with its stock earlier this year, and they've been slashing prices like crazy, and now they're going out the fucking door. So the car that I bought is like not even available anymore this year. They have to like rebuild them before they can even post them on the website. But the performance model, which is faster and gets maybe 40 or 50 miles less on a full charge, is $53K. For the record, I paid about $58, $59 for my long-range model, slightly slower, more miles. The reason I went with that is because we actually do a lot of long trips on this car, and I will talk about that in a little bit. Another con is the simplicity of navigation. It's really easy to plug in where you're going, just like you would on your phone or other cars, but you get the added access to the Tesla supercharging network, which is essentially the closest thing you're going to get to a gas station. And I mean that because at the fastest, you'll charge your car up in 15, 20 minutes. At the slowest, 45 minutes to an hour. And we will talk about that more later because that can certainly be a con as well. But other EVs do not get access to the Tesla supercharger network. And if they do, they're using some kind of aftermarket adapter. And a con of these EVs is that Tesla and other stations don't make their stations universal. And I have heard stories of cars plugging into the Tesla charging network that weren't supposed to, and vice versa. Tesla is plugging into other companies' charging networks and then having battery problems later. So the reason why the Tesla supercharger network is the best is it's because it's the fastest. I don't think there's any 250 kilowatt charging stations that are outside of that network. They're also probably the most prevalent. If you look at the map, there's more of these Tesla ones than other ones. So yeah, that is an advantage of the Tesla. I do want to comment, I live in an area that had, it's winter. We have snow and single-digit temperatures. We do not have below zero temperatures here. So I cannot comment on that, but in single-digit temps, this car is totally fine. I'm not like getting stuck on the road with a dead battery because of the cold. You can precondition and essentially warm up your car just like you would with a battery car, with a gas car, but you can do it in the safety of your garage because there's zero emissions. You just actually pull up the mobile app and hit a button. Speaking of which, this car does have a mobile app. Other EVs, they might not. Like I have a buddy who has a Volkswagen SUV EV. He doesn't have a mobile app. They haven't built one, so like he can't do the remote warming and cooling, preconditioning the battery, defrosting the car, which I've used. I took the Tesla up to the slopes and came back to a pile of snow on my car and my windows. I hit a button on the app and most of it melted off in about 2 minutes. You can also track where your car is on the app, and that can be a good thing or a bad thing, but for now we'll talk about the good thing. Say your wife is out with your car and she's been gone for way longer than she expected. You can just pull out the app and stalk her, seriously. Or you can see where your car is if you forgot where you parked it, something like that. It's all trackable. And of course, there's a downside to that too. I don't think I need to go too far into it, but we'll get there. The Teslas also have 8 cameras, which is used to detect other cars. It's used for the autopilot and FSD. We'll get into that, but it also is used for something called Sentry Mode. And basically, if someone walks by your car and you have your Sentry Mode turned off, let's say you're parked in a bad area, it'll start recording the person. If they do anything to your car, you'll have evidence of that. You can also be away from your car and use the mobile app to view what the cameras see. So if you just want to look out one of your cameras from your mobile app, you absolutely can do that. This car does come with autopilot. FSD is something else. It's much more expensive. It's essentially as best as you can get if you really want something close to full self-driving. That's what it stands for. It's not there yet, and you end up paying I think 15 grand essentially to be a beta tester for that feature. Highly not recommended, but if you really want to splurge, you can. That's the thing that basically allows you to summon your car from a parking space. But again, you're beta testing that. It is not released. And if you use that and get into an accident, that's on you. Another advantage is I do think this car looks good from the side, like this, and also from the front. It does not look good from the back, which is a con. The back has kind of a weird square trunk. But yeah, if you're standing directly behind a Model 3, it kind of looks ugly. But from the side, this looks pretty nice. Even with these cheaper rims. And I opted for these rims as well. They're much lighter, cheaper. So I figured that's going to add performance to the 0 to 60 time if you've got lighter rims. Let's see. Yeah, get window tint. If you're going to get a Model 3, it doesn't come with any tint on the side windows. I had both my side windows, back window, and the back windshield completely tinted. I also had my windshield tinted lightly, not to be completely mirror limousine black, but to reduce some of the UV rays. And in the summer, where we get 100-degree summers here, it's pretty nice. It actually really helps keep the car cool, so highly recommended. Again, the trunk is ugly from the back, but the trunk has a ton of space. I bought the car not even having done research on that. There's a ton of space in the back. There's even a hidden compartment back there for even more space. And then you also have, right here, this is called the frunk. It's a small trunk. You pop the hood and you have another trunk, basically. There is no engine here. Your motors are right in here in these wheels, and that's it. If you're a family of 2, this car fits 2 car seats very easily. We have 2 boys. No need to get the SUV models. This car can totally fit 2 car seats very, very well. And as your kids get older, their car seats get smaller and they go to booster seats. So, yeah. Perfect for a family of 2. If you got a family of 3 or more, which I applaud you for, probably not the best car to try to fit all of them in. Unless you're a single parent at the time of driving and you have an adult child up in the front. Let's see. At-home charging is really easy. So it does come with a wall charger in the trunk when you buy the car. So if you want to take forever and you don't care, you can literally plug your Tesla into a wall outlet. I don't know how long that takes. I'm pretty sure it's really slow, like 12 to 15 hours, something like that. I've never done it. When I bought the car, I immediately spent the $400 on the wall charger, which is literally a station that plugs into this, that basically sits on the sidewall of your garage on the other side of your electrical box outlet that a certified electrician has to come and do. But they're so used to doing them now that it's very, very easy. I spent maybe $100 for the installation. I gave them a really good tip. I was very happy. The wall charging is your basic overnight charge, right? So if you have 40% of your battery left, it probably takes 6 to 7 hours. If you're near dead, you're probably looking at 8 or 9 hours plus. But you charge it overnight. That's generally when electricity rates are cheaper anyway. So that's how you do it. So yeah, we talked about the supercharger network. Let's see. Yeah, like, again, I think I'll end on these pros as just to say that you got to do your own research. And if you're gonna take this car on long trips, like we go from Reno, Nevada to Portland, Oregon very often. Not exactly Portland, but let's just say Portland. It's like a good 9 or 10 hour drive. You're not going to want the Ford Mach-E. You're not going to want the Volkswagen whatever. You're not going to want any other electric that's not Tesla, because your charging stations are going to be slow as F, and you're going to be few and far between from them. I've heard of people getting the other EVs and then not realizing that it's going to take 4 hours to charge on a stop, right? You might as well get a hotel room and just book it for the night, because that's what you're going to do. So yeah, of course, you could always just get a gas-powered car for long trips. That is always faster, at least for now. Just fill it up with good old gas. 2 minutes. All right, so let's go into some of the cons. I'm sure this is what you guys really want to hear. And if I forget anything, by all means, tell me in the comments on the good or the bad. So the bad, there's 8 cameras. Why is that bad? You just said that was good. Well, this is an internet-connected car, so you have 8 cameras, including cameras that look in the car. What do you think that means when the government starts passing laws about being able to turn your car off or being able to track you through your Tesla? By the way, your Tesla has also got tracking, remember? You can track whoever's in the car and where they're driving, but so can someone else. Don't forget that. It is an EV, right? So for long trips, you might want to keep an eye on the battery monitor. It gives you really, really good data on the dashboard, but you have to kind of acquire that skill. It's not like anything you really have to try hard to do, but if you're flooring, like if I'm making a 250-mile trip from Reno to Klamath Falls, that is 250 miles. I don't want to floor it all the time. I don't want to use the heat all the time or the AC if I can avoid it, because that stuff actually, those are like the 2 or 3 biggest battery killers, is you punching it all the time, which is hard not to because this car is so fun. But if you're doing that all the time on a 250-mile trip, you're going to watch your energy slip. And then, yeah, if it's really, really, really cold or really, really, really hot, you know, your climate control is also going to cost energy. This has never been a problem. I've never had to pull over with a dead battery. That's never happened to me, but I have seen it happen to other people. I have been at literally that Klamath Falls supercharger station and seen a Tesla just like mine get rolled in on a tow truck from a dead battery. And why did this happen? The guy was new, and he didn't put into the navigator where he was going on a long trip. You should always use the navigation on a long trip if you have this car, because it will literally tell you, okay, you're not going to make your destination anymore, and we need to reroute you to a charging station. It's as simple as that. From the time you start your trip, have your destination, it will literally tell you where to go so that you never, ever have to go out of your way to charge your battery and you won't die. It's never happened to me. Another thing that I don't like, there's a cruise control feature, and it's just not as good as the Subarus. It tries to be all smart, you know, like this is a smart car using 8 cameras. I don't really think it's that good. I've had a couple instances going 80 on the freeway on cruise control, and then the cruise control literally drops to a 70. It's not fun when that happens. It's been rare. It hasn't happened to me in months, but it did happen a couple times, and Tesla employees have confirmed to me that it's some kind of a bug. I have talked to people that I know that work for Tesla, again, because I'm here in Nevada, as well as service reps, and they all know about it. And I don't like that one bit. So I almost never use the cruise control. If anything, I use autopilot, which is, it comes with every car, and it's basically the version of cruise control that also steers the vehicle for you. It's pretty impressive. You'll be on the freeway going 60, 70 miles per hour, and your car will steer itself. It does occasionally check to make sure you're paying attention by asking you to periodically, like once every minute or so, like touch the steering wheel and just basically move it ever so slightly in a direction, just so it knows that you're still there. But autopilot works great. I don't love their cruise control. I much prefer the dumb cruise control of the Subaru Impreza that we have. We already talked about this. Here, I want to highlight this con right here, because this one is probably my least favorite con. It's probably done for both performance reasons as well as cost-saving reasons for Tesla, but these doors and windows are considered frameless. When you open the door, you'll see that the window does not sit in like a box the way that a window does on a normal car. There's usually a black metal and rubber frame around a window when you open a door. Not so with the Teslas. The window just kind of sits there by itself, and that's kind of cool, and at the same time, not so cool. In the winter, I have noticed that when I'm parked and the heat is on, everything's cool. But once I get on the freeway and I start going over 60 miles per hour, it gets colder in the car. I can feel that the doors are not very well insulated, for sure. There's just no denying it. The car does get a little colder on the freeway. Again, I'm not freezing my butt off. I've got the heater on, but yeah, like the door feels cheap and light. And yeah, again, it is probably cheap and light for a couple reasons that I just stated, but I don't love that. And the other problem with these frameless windows is that I swear you can sometimes hear air and wind leaking in on the freeway if you're going against the wind too hard. To be fair, I've also experienced that on the Subaru, but not as many times. We do live in a very windy area, and to me it just feels like this car was absolutely tested in the San Francisco Bay Area, where that was probably designed, to be fair, but also where the weather is very moderate, like very, very, very moderate. Summers don't get super hot, winters don't get super cold. It's not super windy by the ocean there. So yeah, this is like my biggest con with the Tesla, and for a $50,000 or $60,000 car, this should not be a thing at all. Your Honda doesn't do this. So yeah, not happy about that. That is my biggest issue right now. Another thing that I can see being a major problem, though it is not currently a problem, is the access to the supercharger network for other electric vehicles. I kind of touched on this, but basically even on the busiest long trips I've been on, I've never had to sit and wait. Like there'll be 8 or 9 Tesla superchargers that'll take 20 or 30 minutes to fully charge the battery up, and I've never had to wait for one. You just pull right in and start going. If there is I think they're piloting this program now, but if there's some kind of government mandate, or Tesla, for whatever stupid reason, decides to open up their charging network to all other EVs, Fords, Toyotas, Rivians, Hondas, Subarus, like they're all going to have EV models. And if that comes, the supercharger network will be totally useless. There will be way too many cars, and you're going to line up for a freaking hour just to have the privilege to charge for another 45 minutes. Because when these cars pile up on the chargers, they're all sharing the same electricity, and the chargers go slower. When I was in Klamath last winter, a month ago, nobody was driving that day. It was New Year's. So I'd pull into a Tesla station, I'd be the only one. I got done in like 20 minutes. But when there's a lot of other Teslas there, it can take 40 minutes. Imagine if there's like just a line of EVs. It's going to be terrible. So I don't know why Tesla would open the network. I think it makes it an exclusive Tesla thing. So it's like, hey, you want this supercharger network that we built everywhere? Well, you need to buy a Tesla. But if they figure out a way to make more money from opening it, they probably will. And that is not something I want to have to deal with. My last con, and if I forget any again, just get back to me, comment below. But yeah, apparently this is not the car to own if you live in an area north where you will experience sub-zero temps. Buffalo, New York, you didn't want to have a Tesla. If you live in Canada, which I think there are a lot of people in Canada that have Teslas, but like I think they're coming to realize this was the year that this was not the best car for them. I saw videos of door handles freezing, and you wouldn't not even be able to open your door. Batteries are not working. They're not charging well. Their performance is terrible when it gets below sub-zero. This is what I have heard. So this final con is like hearsay because I haven't experienced it. Again, though, I am in single-digit temps. It is warmer, slightly warmer, and I have not experienced any issues myself. But I do want to also highlight, I park my car in my garage every night. So when the temperature goes from 20 to 5, it's not sitting outside getting icy. So there is that as well. But that's pretty much it. I really don't like the frameless door thing, but at the same time, if frameless doors are what's giving me my 0 to 60 in 3.2 seconds, then I'll live with it, because for me, in this phase of my life, it is all about the speed. And yeah, I can't hear the engine because there isn't one. The car basically doesn't have a soul, but I love this thing just from the speed, just sheer speed. We have big, open, desert roads. Like when you're cruising on this thing down the freeway and the sun is setting over the snow-capped mountains in the desert, is so much fun. I'm gonna leave it at that, but lay into me, guys. I have the EV Tesla. Like, give me as much salt as you want. Throw a bunch of salt on me. Give me the comments. I definitely want to hear what you're thinking, and we'll go from there. See you guys.